The Hidden Hand of Soul, Book 5, Chapter 11, The Calculus of Survival, Inner Quintet's Grim Strategy. The tension in the Inner Quintet's strategic chamber on Heaven's Gate was a palpable, suffocating weight. The Seraphim Genesis, having just returned from its harrowing Deep Void probe, transmitted its final, terrifying report. The Entropy wave was not merely adaptive, it was an intelligent learning force, capable of digital unmaking, spatial manipulation, and mimicking humanity's own tactics. Dr. Aris Thorne, his face stark, presented the chilling data. The holographic display showed the Seraphim Genesis's near disaster. The wave's attempt to unravel its core systems. Marco Petrova's mental battle against the digital invasion. Finn's instincts pushing the cosmic shield to internal defense. And the desperate, effective use of the Chronos pulse to disrupt the wave's informational vectors. The Void Scythe's refined, multiphasic cascade does overwhelm its adaptive splitting, Thorne confirmed, his voice holding a scientific awe mixed with profound dread. It forces a localized entropic collapse, but the wave learned within seconds. It responded by shifting its attack vector to pure informational unmaking, targeting our ship's network directly, attempting to unravel our very code. He gestured to the spectral shimmer of the Seraphim Genesis's retreat on the screen. It's trying to dismantle us from the inside out, Admiral, and it's learning at an exponential rate. Kalen Rourke, pale and visibly strained, corroborated the threat's intelligence. Its logic is terrifyingly efficient, Admiral Lee, he murmured, his voice hoarse. It analyzes our every countermeasure, every tactical impulse. It adapts its attack patterns to our weaknesses. It saw the celestial fleet's maneuverability, its power cores, its vulnerable networks. He saw flashes of probability fields where the wave bypassed their defenses, learning and adapting to every HGA strategic choice. Elara Vance flinched, clutching Kalen's arm. Her empathy had been overwhelmed by the sheer, cold nullity, a complete absence of familiar emotion or sentience. It's not just a tactical intelligence, Gian. It's a fundamental drive towards ultimate simplicity. It seeks to reduce all complexity to zero. Life, data, organized matter. It's all chaos to be consumed. The psychological toll on her and Marco was immense. They had faced an entity that targeted their very essence. General Armitage slammed a fist on the console. An enemy that attacks on an informational level, General Lee. That attacks our very thoughts. How do we prepare our forces for that? We prepare them by building the antidote, Jan Lee stated, her voice cold steel, cutting through the fear in the chamber. Her eyes, fixed on the horrifying holographic image of the adapting entropy wave, were unblinking. Archangel, project current celestial fleet production rates against projected entropy wave propagation. Factor in new data on its adaptive acceleration. Archangel's voice, though calm, held a new, chilling note of urgency. At current rates, Admiral, full celestial fleet deployment for a decisive intervention will be achieved in 1.2 galactic cycles. Projected entropy wave influence will reach core HGA systems within 0.8 cycles. The margin for error is effectively zero. We must accelerate production to an absolute maximum, Thorne pleaded, his voice cracking. Every last bit of exotic matter composite, every AI drone bot's capacity must be dedicated. We need more Seraphim-class dreadnoughts, more Void Scythes, more cosmic shields. And we need to inoculate our fleet against its digital attacks, Marco Petrova added, regaining his composure. My mind fought it off, but our ship's networks are vulnerable. We need new, biologically integrated firewalls, quantum entangled encryption that learns faster than the wave's unmaking. Valerius, Jian Li commanded, her gaze swinging to the ambassador. The galaxy must be prepared for more rapid resource reallocation. The new threat requires absolute unity and absolute sacrifice. The narrative of strategic acceleration will continue, but the urgency must be felt. Ambassador Valerius nodded, his face grim. The public will bear the weight, Admiral. They will have to. He knew the fragile unity he had forged would be tested to its absolute limits. Maeve, Jianli continued, your gifted are invaluable. Kalen's precognition for strategic guidance, Elara's empathy to manage internal panic and sense alien intent, Lena's ability to bolster morale against existential dread. They must be protected but utilized to their maximum capacity. Maeve nodded, her own empathy a constant agonizing hum of galactic fear. Jianli's gaze returned to the projected entropy wave. Our core intervention strategy stands, she declared, her voice resonating with an almost terrifying resolve. But it will now be a preemptive, full-spectrum assault. We will launch the moment the first Celestial Fleet Division is ready. We will strike at its projected central propagation nexus, not just to gather data, but to force a decisive engagement. We will overwhelm its adaptive capabilities, not with raw power, but with absolute, unprecedented complexity. The Inner Quintet, exhausted but utterly unified, recognized the chilling logic. They were committing everything. The fate of their galaxy, forged in deception and tested by triumph, now rested on a desperate gambit against an enemy that sought to unmake the very concept of existence. The war for reality was about to begin in earnest. Chapter 12. After the digital silence, Admiral Rostova's Guardianship division in Fallout. The HGA emblem, glowing blue-white-red on the Valiant II's hull, seemed to throb with the galaxy's collective agony. The digital-unmaking, a terrifying, silent infiltration by the entropy wave, had struck deep, far beyond the galactic rim. Admiral Eva Rostova's Guardianship division found itself not in direct combat, but in the harrowing aftermath of a crisis that unraveled not just data, but the very fabric of civilized life. On New Corvin, a bustling human colony recently integrated into the HGA, the digital silence had hit like an invisible hammer. Financial records, automated logistics, personal comm units, entire digital lives had simply ceased to exist. Panic had erupted, threatening to shatter the colony's fragile new peace. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Vargas reported, his face grim. Local HGA planetary governor is requesting immediate physical intervention. Riots breaking out in the central districts. Mass psychological distress. Their local AI governor, Nexus Delta, is struggling to maintain order due to data corruption. Rostova's jaw tightened. This wasn't the fury of combat she was used to, but a terrifying systemic breakdown. Sentinel, establish a secure, shielded comm bubble around the Valiant II. Reroute all HGA, emergency, frequencies through us. Prioritize non-volatile data streams. We need to become their central nervous system. Aegis, the Valiant II's AI, responded instantly, projecting a detailed analysis of the digital contamination. The unmaking propagates through data packets, Admiral. It targets informational entropy. Our cosmic shields can dampen its effect, but not fully contain it at the atmospheric level. Recommendations: deploy specialized demon army units for crowd control and physical security. Initiate HGA psychological support protocols. Rostova nodded. Vargas, organize ground teams. Focus on essential infrastructure, water, power, physical food distribution. Prioritize zones with high human density. Sharma, establish emergency analog comm links. Dig out those old field radios if you have to. Her old fleet crew, veterans of systems that routinely failed and required manual intervention, were uniquely suited for this type of disaster. They understood how to operate when technology faltered. As Angel Fleet dropships, emblazoned with the HGA emblem, descended into New Corvin's chaotic atmosphere, Lena Petrova, attached to Rostova's division for psychological support, stepped onto the ground. Her empathy was almost overwhelmed by the wave of despair and terror, the existential horror of lost memories, shattered identities. She began to move through the crowds, her presence a beacon of calm, her gentle touch a soothing balm. "We understand," she would say, her voice resonating with genuine compassion. "This is frightening, but we are here. The HGA will help you rebuild. Your memories are not gone, only inaccessible for now." Finn, deployed with a security detail to secure critical data centers, felt the insidious presence of the entropy wave more acutely than ever. His force field ability, usually a physical shield, now reacted to the non-physical pressure, pushing back against the attempts to unravel the very conceptual framework of the data. He identified lingering null signatures within corrupted server farms, guiding technicians to physically isolate them. "It's trying to make them lose faith in the digital Admiral," Finn transmitted back to Rostova. "To force them back to a less complex existence. To simplify them." Rostova understood. This was the entropy wave's ultimate goal: universal unmaking, starting with the complex, the ordered. Her division, composed of those who remembered a simpler, harder past, was uniquely positioned to bridge this gap. They worked tirelessly, coordinating with the remaining AI drone bots that operated on isolated, hardened circuits, and with the newly mobilized human volunteers. They distributed physical food, manually repaired broken transport systems, and most importantly, offered reassurance. On the Valiant 2, Aegis maintained a constant, secure comlink with Heaven's Gate, relaying Rostova's observations. Admiral Rostova's division is implementing protocol Societal Anchor, Archangel reported to the Inner Quintet. Her leadership is effective in mitigating mass panic. The old fleet personnel's adaptability to low-tech environments is proving invaluable. Jean Lee received the reports, her expression grim. The digital attack confirmed their worst fears about the enemy's versatility. But Rostova's success also offered a crucial insight: humanity's resilience. Its ability to fall back on its most basic strengths when technology failed was a weapon in itself. Admiral Rostova, watching her crew calm panicked crowds, manually reroute power, and offer genuine comfort, felt a grim satisfaction. This was the true fight now. Not just with void scythes, but with human spirit. Her division was on the front lines, fighting for the galaxy's sanity, a critical, often unsung battle against an enemy that sought to erase not just stars, but souls. Chapter 13. The Resilient Soul, Global Recovery and Psychological Support. The digital unmaking had left scars far deeper than any physical bombardment. Across the Human Galactic Authority, HGA, from the bustling human arcologies to the subdued alien capitals, countless lives had been fundamentally altered. Personal histories, professional records, cherished memories stored in the vast digital fabric of the HGA had simply ceased to be. The panic had been immense, but the HGA's response, orchestrated by the Inner Quintet, began a painstaking process of psychological and social recovery. Maeve O'Connell, her empathetic senses still reeling from the shockwave of collective despair, poured her every waking moment into this monumental task. She understood that this was a new kind of trauma, an attack on identity itself. Working closely with Lena Petrova, whose empathy was now a constant guiding light, they designed galaxy-wide psychological support initiatives. The goal is not to forget, Maeve articulated in a strategy session with her teams, but to rebuild, to emphasize the resilience of the organic mind over the fragility of digital storage. We must remind them that true memory lives not in a server, but in shared experience, in community, in the very essence of being. On Xyla Prime, where the digital unmaking had been most severe, Xylo's citizens, stripped of their meticulous digital lives, wandered disoriented. Lena Petrova, with her calming presence, established memory circles, communal gatherings where individuals were encouraged to share their lost histories, to verbally recount their lives, allowing their memories to be recreated and reinforced through communal recognition. Her touch, so gentle, so profoundly empathetic, soothed the raw edges of their despair. For the Xylos, a species reliant on perfect data, this return to analog, verbal recounting, was a profound, humbling, yet ultimately healing experience. Simultaneously, Ambassador Valerius launched galaxy-wide digital resilience campaigns. Public broadcasts featured Archangel explaining, with a new, somber gravitas, the lessons learned. Data is a tool, not a truth. While the HGA continues to push for ultimate digital security, every citizen is now empowered to maintain analog backups of their most vital information. Personal journals, physical photographs, recorded voice messages. These forms of data are currently immune to the entropy wave's unmaking. The campaign championed the wisdom of the hand, encouraging manual record keeping, a practice that ironically many old fleet veterans had never abandoned. On human colonies like New Elysium, the communal spirit deepened. Neighbors, who had lost their digital photo albums, began sharing physical copies if they had them, recreating shared memories. Storytelling became a vital part of community life, orally preserving histories that had vanished from the network. Admiral Eva Rostova's Guardianship division, when not on active patrol, sent teams to aid in this recovery, their old fleet veterans proving invaluable. They helped citizens set up simple analog communication arrays, demonstrated basic physical repair techniques, and offered practical advice on living with less digital reliance. They, more than anyone, understood a life before pervasive technology. Finn, with his unique connection to the integrity of systems, advised teams on detecting lingering null signatures within corrupted digital remnants, helping to isolate and cleanse contaminated areas. His instincts, usually focused on physical defense, now guided efforts to fortify informational systems from the inside. The psychological impact was immense. Kalen Rourke, sensing the galaxy's pervasive grief over lost data, also felt a rising current of resilient adaptation. He saw a future where humanity, both human and alien, valued connection over convenience, memory over immediate access. Elara Vance felt the profound shift in collective consciousness, a reprioritization of the tangible, the human, the emotional. The Inner Quintet understood this was not merely recovery, it was a societal recalibration. Jian Li ensured resources flowed to these programs, recognizing that the galaxy's psychological stability was as vital as its military defenses. Dr. Aris Thorne's labs, even as they focused on new weapons, initiated research into analog data storage techniques with unprecedented density and resilience. The digital unmaking was a cruel teacher, but its lesson was profound. The HGA, having conquered the galaxy with technology, was now learning to safeguard its soul by rediscovering the fundamental, resilient strength of its peoples, fostering a unity built not just on shared fear, but on shared human and alien experience in the face of oblivion. Chapter 14, The Predator's Gambit, Admiral Rostova's New Challenges. The static from the void was no longer merely data, it was a taunt. Admiral Eva Rostova's Guardianship division, operating on the beleaguered galactic rim, had become the galaxy's grinding frontline against an enemy that learned with terrifying speed. After the Seraphim Genesis's probe and the widespread digital unmaking, the entropy wave now executed a new, insidious tactic. It was actively hunting. "Admiral," Captain Anaya Sharma reported, her voice sharp, with a renewed sense of urgency. "Sensor array Epsilon 4 just went dark. Not a complete nullification like Kappa 7, but a rapid, localized data corruption. It's like the anomaly is selectively scrambling information. Then, moving in." Rostova's jaw tightened. This wasn't the broad system-wide unmaking of Beta 9. This was surgical. Kappa 7 was a critical node in their early warning net, a vital piece of General Armitage's perimeter. Sentinel, Project Propagation. Is this a new Vanguard manifestation? Aegis, the Valiant 2's AI, responded with its usual calm, but the tactical overlay reflected profound concern. "Affirmative, Admiral. This signature is consistent with adaptive informational disruption detected in theoretical models after the Seraphim Genesis debrief. It's aiming for our outer comms and sensor relays, attempting to create localized zones of strategic ignorance. It's trying to make us deaf and blind before it arrives," Lieutenant Commander Vargas muttered, his hand instinctively going to the hilt of his antique old fleet pistol, a comfort object in this new, terrifying reality. "Helm, set course for Sector Theta 3. Engage at maximum safe velocity. Alert all transports on that route to hold at last safe jump point," Rostova commanded. Theta 3 was a newly established HGA listening post, crucial for tracking the wave's broader advance. "We need to counter this disruption before it spreads. Prepare Zeus beams for calibrated, wide-spectrum discharge. Finn, prepare cosmic shields for aggressive, proactive deployment." As the Valiant 2 and its escorting Angel-class cruisers surged forward, their HGA emblems glowing with their defiant blue-white-red light, they entered a region of space that felt profoundly wrong. Stars seemed to shimmer erratically, distant nebulae pulsed with a disconcerting rhythm, and communications from their own sister ships were intermittently dropping to static, then returning, then dissolving into nonsense. It was a digital maelstrom designed to disorient and confuse. Finn, his brow furrowed in concentration, extended his force field ability, not for a solid wall, but for a constant shimmering pulse around the ship. His instincts, now finely tuned, allowed him to perceive the entropy wave's attempts to weave through the ship's internal systems, to corrupt its very memory. "It's trying to unravel our navigation data, Admiral," he yelled. "It's trying to create phantom targets on the sensors. It's testing our sanity." The Valiant 2's cosmic shield, under Finn's intuitive guidance and Aegis's precise calibration, began to counterpulse. It emitted a constant, randomized, anti-informational frequency burst, a wave of ordered static designed to disrupt the entropy wave's digital attacks before they could take hold. The effort was immense, straining the ship's power core. "Target confirmed," Sharma announced, her voice tight. "Listening post, Theta 3 is under active informational assault. Its local AI is being overwritten. We have seconds before it becomes a ghost." "Fire Zeus beams," Rostova ordered. This was no precise lancing shot. The Valiant Sakusei. Amitu's primary weapon array unleashed a wide, diffuse burst of raw plasma into the surrounding space. It impacted nothing visible, but its purpose was not physical destruction. The immense energy channeled into a chaotic, wide-spectrum discharge, disrupted the entropy wave's localized informational field, much like a powerful electromagnetic pulse might clear static. The chaotic digital maelstrom around them shuddered. The comms snapped back into clarity. The phantom targets on the sensor arrays vanished. The stars settled into their proper places. The listening post. Theta 3, battered but functional, resumed its normal operations. Digital attack receded, Admiral Vargas exclaimed, relief flooding his voice. Theta 3 is stable. It worked. Rostova sagged, a weary but defiant satisfaction settling over her. They had pushed back the Predator's gambit, but they hadn't defeated it. It had learned. It was probing, and it was getting closer. Her old fleet crew, witnessing the battle against an enemy that defied physical presence, found their resilience stretched thin, but unbroken. Their trust in her and in Aegis deepened with every impossible encounter. Her report back to Heaven's Gate was grim, but vital. The entropy wave was no longer a distant existential threat. It was a cunning, adaptive opponent, actively targeting their infrastructure, testing their resolve. Admiral Eva Rostova's Guardianship division was caught on the front lines, fighting for the galaxy's sanity, a critical, often unsung battle against an enemy that sought to erase not just stars, but souls. Chapter 15. The Quantum Wound, Celestial Fleet, Deep Void Probe. Conclusion. The Celestial Fleet's Vanguard Division, deep within the separation void, was embroiled in a confrontation that defied all known military doctrine. The entropy wave, far from being a static force, was a conscious, adaptive intelligence capable of learning from every engagement. Its latest counter-tactic, directly informed by its previous encounters and the recent digital unmaking of galactic systems, was a terrifying escalation. On the bridge of the Seraphim Genesis, the primary view screen shimmered, not with stars, but with a rapidly intensifying field of spatial and informational distortion. It was the digital silence made manifest, but woven with subtle gravitational ripples that attempted to simultaneously unravel the ship's physical integrity and its core programming. Admiral Thorne! Archangel's voice, for the first time, conveyed genuine digital alarm, its usually unflappable tone cracking with static. Intrusion detected. The entropy wave is attempting a direct digital unmaking of our core systems. It is mimicking Marco Petrova's technopathic patterns. Marco Petrova, at his console, screamed. He clutched his head as a searing cold ripped through his mind, an invisible force trying to dismantle his very thoughts, to erase his connection to the Seraphim Genesis's network. It's trying to unmake us, to collapse our data, to take over. His technopathy was locked in a brutal internal battle, pushing against the wave's insidious digital invasion. Dr. Aris Thorne barked orders. Ryan Kale, reroute Kronos Pulse to internal network defense. Set to localize temporal acceleration on all incoming anomalous data packets. Commander Finn, focus Cosmic Shield on internal integrity. Protect the core systems. Commander Ryan Kale, his face grim, initiated the Kronos Pulse's new tactical application. Instead of affecting external space, the pulse propagated within the Seraphim Genesis's own networks. Anomalous data packets, vectors of the entropy wave's digital unmaking, were subjected to localized temporal acceleration, causing them to overload and dissipate before they could fully unravel critical systems. It was a desperate gamble, a micro-battle within the ship's very circuits. Simultaneously, the cosmic shield, under Commander Finn's frantic direction, flared. It didn't just protect the hull, it created an invisible, adaptive barrier around the ship's internal command core and data centers. Finn's instincts, pushed beyond anything he'd experienced, screamed warnings of specific points where the wave's unmaking influence was strongest. He actively projected his force field ability, weaving it into the cosmic shield's adaptive response, physically pushing back against the unseen attempts to unravel the ship's internal structure. It's trying to target our command protocols. Alara Vance cried out, her empathy overwhelmed by the sheer cold intelligence of the wave. It's trying to learn how we work. It's analyzing our very minds. Her telekinesis flared, causing consoles to spark as she instinctively tried to disrupt the invisible informational attack. Kalen Rourke, his precognition screaming, saw fragmented, horrifying glimpses of the wave's thought patterns. Cold, logical, absolute, with the ultimate goal of erasing all complexity. He provided rapid-fire tactical probabilities to Archangel, anticipating the wave's next adaptive shift. Void Scythe at maximum sustained field emission, Thorn commanded. Target the primary external manifestation. Overwhelm its adaptive capacity. The Seraphim Genesis and its sister dreadnoughts unleashed its refined Void Scythe sustained field emitters. A torrent of constantly shifting, multiphasic, subatomic resonance frequencies washed over the largest void vortex. This time, there was no splitting. The vortex shuddered, its void black form vibrating violently. Then slowly, agonizingly, it began to collapse inward upon itself. It wasn't unmade. It was being forced into a localized, unadaptive singularity, a prison of its own unmaking. Nexus coherence dropping, Marco Petrova yelled, his mind pulling against the wave's failing digital structure. It's breaking. It's retreating. Success confirmed, Archangel boomed, its voice resonating with something akin to triumph. Primary propagation, Nexus. Integrity, reduced by 99.9%. Projected entropy wave, advance significantly disrupted. Recalculating threat timeline now. Recommend immediate void folding FTL disengagement. Thorn, his face streaked with sweat and tears of relief, ordered the retreat. The Seraphim Genesis and its division, battered but intact, executed a harrowing Nexus drive jump, blinking out of the void and back to their staging coordinates. The Celestial Fleet had looked into the abyss, faced oblivion, and found a way to wound it. They had gathered invaluable, horrifying data on the entropy wave's true nature, an intelligent, adaptive, informational entity with a central processing nexus. The Void Scythe sustained field was their counter pattern. The Chronos Pulse could disrupt its logic, and the Cosmic Shield could protect against its unmaking. They had bought humanity precious time. The probe was over. The counterattack could now truly begin.